everyone. Welcome to another session of Straight from the Paws. This is Beverly here, and my guest today is James Hamingway from Social Animal Dog Training. I did it right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Bev.
And
Yeah.
you've been on this show before.
Yeah, sometime last year came on.
So we had all your history when you came on before.
Yeah.
But the thing that we want to talk about today is a dog named Bok Choy.
Bok Choy.
Bok Choy.
Mr.
Correct.
Bok
I don't know
Choy.
who named Bok Choy that.
One of your creative staff.
One of the
for
creative
sure.
staff.
Yeah.
So I think they were naming vegetables, right? When Bok Choy came in, so we might have had a cauliflower, cabbage. We might have had. They have these themes all the time.
Yeah.
So Bok Choy came to us either end of August or the beginning of September.
Yeah,
That's about correct.
that sounds about right.
And how long have you been at the shelter, so we get a general idea?
I don't know. I think it's been the last couple of years at least I've been coming by.
Years. We're already talking years.
Yeah, time flies.
Wow, time flies.
Yeah.
All right, so Bok Choy is the reason we have this show here today. Bok Choy came to us as a stray, and Bok Choy is a white bulldog pitty, kind of a mix, correct?
Yeah, I'd call him a pit bull type dog.
And then we found out something different about Bok Choy that we didn't have, I don't think, ever at the shelter. If we did, I don't remember it. You could tell everybody what was Bok Choy different with.
Yeah, so Bok Choy was deaf. He was assessed by the veterinarian. He could not hear. And so that becomes a challenge in some respects, especially when you're trying to train the dog. You have to come up with different strategies than you would normally use. So that's exactly what we did. And I think that's why he was at the shelter for so long as well.
But he wasn't with us all the time, right? I believe we had a contact with another animal shelter. I think it was Situate.
Yeah, I do remember something about that.
So Bok Choy was with us for a while, and then Bok Choy left to go to Situate.
Mm-hmm.
And were you working with Bok Choy before he went to Situate?
No, I was not. And now you reminded me. So yeah, he came back from another spot, and he was a little bit, like young dogs can be, a little nippy and demanding.
Yeah, and I don't know if
that was a quick
know he was
fix.
deaf when he went to.
I'm not sure that they did.
Yeah, we're not sure on that little connection.
When I started working with him, I was informed that he didn't have his hearing. Yeah. So we started from that basis.
So how did you even begin with him? I mean, I don't even know how you would even begin training a dog that's deaf. He's an adult dog?
He's a young adult, yeah.
He's a young adult, so he's not a puppy.
No.
But he's not old. So within I think
it's about a year and a half.
About a year and a half.
2 years old.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he's already got a lot of behavior on him.
Yeah.
And he came in as a stray.
Right.
Wow, so he's been out on the street as a deaf dog.
Right.
So how did you begin?
Started real easy, like we do with all dogs. So the thing is about dog training is that you're basically translating everything you do into body language. So any words we use from the dog's perspective are just sounds that come out of our mouths. It's not like with human beings where we're communicating using concepts. With a dog, you're just using a sound to predict something that the dog.
So when we talk to our own dogs in baby talk, that's the sound that they hear.
They like it. Yeah, they like the sound.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, so now Bok Choy doesn't have that.
He doesn't have that, no. So we just started with body language and use hand signals. I reached back into my pre-professional dog trainer years. I had a dog some years ago, and I decided I'm going to train this dog using hand signals only because.
Well, a lot of the police officers use hand signals.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe it's used. It's used commonly throughout dog training. It's not an uncommon thing to use hand signals. So anyway, I reached in my basket of memories and started working him using the hand signals I could remember. And then we had the difficulty of that's great if he's looking at you, but once Bok Choy's not looking at you, it's tough to give him a hand signal.
And how do you make him look at you?
Well, we tried a number of things. So we always had him on a leash, of course. So we'd go ahead and we'd, give him a little tap on the leash, and he'd turn around, and we taught him that, hey, when you feel this tap on the leash, that's me trying to get your attention. And once I had his attention, we give him the hand signals. And lucky for us, he's a very willing and obedient dog. A lot of fun.
He was a good boy to begin with.
Yeah, he was a really sweet boy. Yeah, no problems with him at all from my perspective in our interaction. So then after we had given him some hand signals and so forth, and he was still sitting there, it had been some time. And again,
I believe he was there for a full 6 months.
Yeah, it seemed, so like 5-6 months. And after a while it became, okay, well, how can we make this dog more adoptable? And that's when you all at the shelter went out and invested in a piece of equipment that I recommended, which was a remote collar. Using that, we were able to not have to have the dog attached to a leash. So now I can have the dog, and for our purposes, we'd have him in the play yard or at the end of a longer line, completely oblivious to what's going on with us, but we were able to signal him using the collar. Once he turned around to see what was going on, we were able to use our hand signals, our hand commands, and that was it. He took to it all right.
That was the work. That's how it happened.
He took to it all right. Yeah.
I heard somebody saying you were doing American Sign Language. Is that true?
No, that's not.
That wasn't
accurate.
true?
No. If any of the hand signals that I gave him were American Sign Language signals, that was completely by accident.
Oh, by accident. So did you create the signals, or is it what everybody would have used?
I think the signals I use are fairly common. Again, I had tried, before I was doing this professionally, I had trained one of my personal dogs using hand signals. This was 20 years ago, perhaps. So
Can't be that old.
thanks, but yeah. And so that's what I just remembered. So it was simple stuff like come. We gave him,
Stop.
his marker was thumbs up. There was another trainer working there who happened to be doing, this.
Oh, the Hawaiian thing.
Yeah, exactly. So this is, similar kind of thing. So when he did the right thing, we give him a thumbs up. We want him to come. We told him to come. We want him to down. We pointed down. We want him to sit. We kind of made a motion that would approximate what we do when we lure the dog's nose up to get him to sit. Once he figured it out, he was okay. Yeah.
Now, how did you train the staff to work with the dog? You weren't there 24/7.
Oh, no. Yeah, so what he did is I worked with a couple of us, worked with Ben and Emma really closely on this. I gave them each a block of instruction on how to do the hand signals. And then once we got the e-collar in there, how to condition the dog to the e-collar, because we don't just
put it on.
You don't just put it on. You got to teach them what it means, and that takes some time. And they did a ton of work with that. Obviously when I wasn't there. I'm there for an hour a week. Sometimes a little more, but yeah, about an hour a week.
We know, we dragged you around a couple of places.
And so they did all that work, getting them conditioned, getting them working. And so then it was easy when he got his foster. It was just as easy. We bring her through, give her a block of instruction, and there you go. Also, we shot a couple of YouTube videos, and
that helped.
That helps for reference, right?
For reference. So we've had Bok Choy on a radio show too. Now, in a radio show, people are listening, but the radio show we were on, they did live streaming also. And Bok Choy was a little star on the show, and you were doing all these hand signals while people were listening to the radio and live streaming, and they could see Bok Choy there. So we've done a lot of exposure with Bok Choy.
Yeah.
Being one of these special needs dogs coming to Forever Paws Animal Shelter, what would have happened to him in another shelter?
I don't know. I think it's just that the fact that you all were willing to put in the time it took to get him to where, you could make a case that this is a super adoptable dog despite his lack of hearing. That was huge. Being able to have the time for your staff to go in and do the conditioning and the training with him and the work with him. That's just, and the investment in the equipment that he needed, right? Specialized for him. Yeah, that's a huge thing. I don't think that most dogs in shelters have that much. There's not always that much time to give to the dog, And also, given the amount of time it took him to get, to find his home, his foster and his adopted home, I think there's probably a silver lining in the fact that he's deaf, because there's that one sensation that isn't kind of, being overloaded with stimulation, and that's his hearing. So where other dogs might get a little nervous about the sounds in the shelter,
he didn't bother him at all.
It couldn't bother him. It couldn't bother him.
And I believe his foster to adopt has another dog.
Yes, yeah, it seems like a really good fit.
So it's a good match.
Seems like a really good match. We were able, again, at the facility at Forever Paws, you guys have that beautiful agility course out back, and it was perfect for the meet and greet with the dog. That way we can let them off leash safely, monitor their interactions, see if they get along in an appropriate way. and that was just fine. And then, you know, like I said, the family he's going with, they seem like real dog people. Like they've got it going on. So you did a great job finding a good match for him too.
I don't know how that happened. I wasn't involved in that process. But you've also done other things at the shelter. So people have adopted a dog from us and needed help with training, and you've gone to the home. So people are now asking you to come to the home and work with one of our dogs. I know you're doing that currently.
Yes, yeah. So right now we're working, you guys, Forever Paws sent me out to do work with a family, took in a young bully type dog. And actually he was from that,
The big case that we had, yeah.
21 dog case. And,
yeah, one of those little pocket bullies.
That's right. And so he, you know, he's a nice little dog, and they had a little bit of issues with him, you know, that developed after he'd been in the house for some time, and having, you know, again, what would happen in another shelter, I don't know, but you all were willing to arrange it so that I can go out there and work with the family in the home, so we can look at the situation, observe the problems where they're occurring, and then get to working on them. And so far, that's I'm happy to report that's going really well
too.
After a couple meetings. Yeah.
Little dog named Tyson.
Yeah, his name's Tyson.
I think we've had a couple of dogs named Tyson.
He's a strong boy. Yeah. For a little guy, yeah.
I believe we've had a couple of dogs named Tyson at the shelter.
It's a popular name.
It's getting to be a popular name,
it's
yes.
The champ's name.
The champion. So we've done well in the couple of years that you've been working at the shelter, and you've taught the staff how to work with deaf dogs, and you're going to homes for people. So you've made a big difference at Forever Paws Animal Shelter. I'm really grateful that you walked in one day and decided to volunteer for us. And I think that's what's been happening. So if anybody out there needs to have a trainer, why don't we give them some of your information right now?
Yeah, so social animal dog training is the place to look up on Google. All of my services are done in home, so I come to you. We do our training at home, in the neighborhood, out in the places you are with your dog, and we also provide a free evaluation in home for the first time to meet the dog. I'll come out, meet your dog, ask you a few questions, observe your dog's behavior, give you my assessment, and tell you what I think you need to do for training, and then after that we go from there.
How long do you actually work with a family? I mean, how do you plan it?
Well, it depends on the situation. So, you know, if take for an example a very anxious, kind of fearful dog, that's probably your longest process for working. You've got a dog that just, you cannot rush that kind of work at all. There's no way you can just kind of run through the material and teach the dog to not be afraid of things. Right?
Do you do puppies, like puppy classes?
I do everything. I do everything from puppies to bite cases.
To bite cases.
Yeah.
So just because a dog bites doesn't mean you have to surrender the dog.
No, it doesn't.
You can work with that, right?
Yeah, you can work the dog. I mean, obviously, a dog that's bitten, you know, he's kind of telling you something, so maybe you might not trust that dog around the kids.
That's true, because we do get a lot of
unattended, right?
Yeah, we get a lot of dogs that come in. They're in bite quarantine.
Yeah.
They bit a family member or a friend or a neighbor. We don't want those dogs to have to go to heaven.
No, with proper safe management, with a new and improved communication system with your dog, a proper work regimen for your dog, and then just some basic safety rules of the road. Dog can live a happy life. You can be happy with your dog. Again, you just might not let your children wrestle with your dog.
That's right.
On the bed.
Especially when you first get the dog home. Don't grab them by the muzzle and kiss them. Well, James, thank you again for talking about Bok Choy, our little deaf dog that we had at Forever Paws Animal Shelter. And we want to thank James for coming today and for coming to Forever Paws as a volunteer. Love it. Bye-bye, everybody.